welcome everybody. I'm joined today by the amazing Nekoda Smythe-Davis, Judo Champion, gaining titles, incredible titles like Commonwealth Champion in 2014, Olympian in 2016. Since then, she's gained the wonderful title of Mother, I believe in 2021. Was it, Nekoda?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
2021, yeah, I had
Yeah.
my little baby girl.
Your little baby girl. And
Yeah,
then since then, you've returned to your elite career, sporting career, and you're preparing for the Paris Olympics this 2024.
yeah,
So first of all, Nekoda, just thank you so much for, as I've mentioned, prior to hitting record in this conversation, thank you so much for joining me. And
you're
I
welcome.
can't wait to hear all about your experience, as I'm sure many others will be excited for it as well. So
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you for having me as well. I can't wait to get into it.
Oh, no, no problem at all. Yeah, so just to give a little summary as to what the chat's going to be all about. So I contacted Nekoda because I am, just to give a bit of a background on myself, so I'm a performance coach, and the clients I work with are mothers who are returning to their career. And when mums come to me for support, they're usually at a stage where they're feeling quite overwhelmed because it can be a very overwhelming experience, obviously returning to your career after becoming a mother, because we've almost kind of gotten used to that. Well, we're just about getting used to the fact of we're becoming, we've become a mum, and we've gone through almost a year of looking after our little ones and kind of getting to grips with that role. And then comes about another big change, where we're then returning back into a working environment, and there's a whole load of adapting that needs to happen then. And so it
Mm,
can be very, I'm sure, Nekoda, you'll agree, and we'll get
mm,
into this, it can be very overwhelming, and there's a lot that we've
mm,
got to think about and juggle. Um, and so when I'm first of all supporting mums, there's a big impact on confidence and emotions that we want to kind of look at how we can support and really cope with, to help them and feel more in control and more confident then in that
mm.
return to work experience. So I got in touch with Nekoda because obviously learning more about, Nekoda's career, incredible inspirational achievements that you've had along your way, and then you've become this wonderful mum on top of all of that as well. And then since
Mm,
then you've returned to a career which I'm sure is very intense,
yeah,
to juggle alongside being a mum. I was really keen to get your experience, to hear
yeah,
about your experience, and to delve into that. um
yeah,
so we're gonna delve into all of that and just really hear about what that's been like for you, the highs and the
yeah,
lows and everything in between. Um,
yeah.
First of all, I kind of want to start off just by asking you, how is the prep going for Paris Olympics this year? How is that all going, first of all?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it has been a journey. It has been a journey.
Gosh.
We are, so I think I have four competitions left now
Oh,
before
wow.
finding out if I'll be going to the games. And then
Okay.
obviously the games will be my fifth competition. So I
Okay.
think thinking that I could potentially only have five competitions left now, and sort of until like the end of my career type thing, because I've been quite open about the fact that this will be my last games, but it's
Okay.
just been an absolute journey. But prep's going, there's ups and downs, there's you pick
Yeah.
up injuries and niggles, but for the most part, we're on track,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping I can perform at the next few competitions and just get that selection. I think that's like the big thing now.
Yeah.
I'm wanting that piece of paper to be
Of
like, okay,
course.
you're
Oh my
going.
goodness.
It's very, very high stress at the minute, but I've been here before, and
Mhm.
let's just take away the fact that I'm a mother, it'd be high stress anyway.
Yeah.
And that is just the nature of, what we do as elite athletes. Um, I always say, if it was easy, we'd all be doing it.
Yeah. True.
It's an acquired, it's an acquired taste. It's an acquired thing. So yeah, it's meant to feel this way. I keep telling
Yeah.
myself that. And I just keep telling myself as well that, I've at this point now I've come too far to give up. So we've got to see it
Yeah.
out to the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you, like you mentioned there, taking the fact that you're a mother out of it, like it would be this intense. But obviously there must be a quite a difference this time round in terms of what's going on like in the background for you, like in home life, and the juggle of that now. So previous Olympics, the previous one you did was 2016, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you were due to obviously then go on, and you had your concussion injury, is that right?
Yeah.
So that was pre-entering motherhood, and that time must have been, when you reflect on that, is there differences between, you know, the responsibilities you had on your shoulders, the juggle between training and motherhood and, you know, all of that? Is there a bit of a difference this time round?
Oh, a massive difference. Like, I miss being able to hear myself think.
Oh my gosh.
And I think when you're a mother, you're just spinning so many different plates. You've got multiple people talking to you at once. You're trying to, figure out, how you're getting through your day and how you're getting through it well. And I think the word that kind of jumped out at me when you were doing your intro was overwhelm. Is this that feeling of overwhelm? I think if you look now, for me, if I looked at overwhelm in the dictionary, there'd be a mum with like, postpartum hair loss, just like,
That's such a good description.
Yeah, that is literally how I feel like 95% of the time. So I think before I had this, there's so many elements of like elite sport that you can't control. And it's funny because a lot of really driven people are very like, we're control freaks. We like to kind of be in control of things, know what's coming up, orchestrate everything. And obviously there's an element of that you can't control. So I at least felt like I had more of a handle on things back then. Whereas now, like, you throw motherhood in the mix as well, and there's just this feeling of like being out of control all the time. And feeling like there's only these small moments where you feel like, right, I'm on top of things. I'm on top of things. And then like another load gets lumped on top of you, whether it's laundry or, whatever it is. It's something.
The day-to-day,
it's always something.
Mundane bits. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. And I think understanding that, judo used to be top on my priority list. And now, top is always going to be my daughter. Just a touch below comes judo, but I have to still find a way somehow to give 100% to my sport to be able to achieve what I want to achieve. But then, I can't waver in my job as a mother as well. I have to give 100% there. So how do you split yourself in two? So yeah, in a nutshell, I feel like I've had to split myself in two, become two people this time round. And manage things with feeling like I don't have as much control over, my whole life as I used to, maybe. So yeah, it is different. Very, very different.
Very, very different. Very, very different. And there's so many things that I want to like pick up on and delve a little bit more into. And I think we will going throughout, particularly, as you said, the elements of like feeling out of control, because that's one of the biggest things I feel I hear mums mentioning, is just constantly feeling like they've not got a grip on things because it's just so much to juggle. And also something that struck a chord with me that you said was the priorities. Obviously our little ones now like are just top of the list and we wouldn't have it any other way. But then there's also that ambition and that drive within us that, for some of us that, we absolutely love our careers, and there's always this kind of conversation you hear about mothers having to like choose between whether it's being a mum or having a career, and having to choose between that. And something that I always work on with mums is the fact that you can do both. It's obviously a lot and it's hard, but it shouldn't be down to having to choose, because you can be this incredible mother as you're proving, and you're also finding a way to give 100% to your judo when you need to. But it's striking that it's finding when you need to dial things up and when you need to dial things down, I suppose, isn't it, to make it work. But I loved what you said there, because I think that's that's one of the things mums really struggle with, isn't it? Like
Mm.
knowing how to dedicate their time to two
Yeah.
things that they absolutely love.
Yeah.
So we can delve a little bit more into that. But
Yeah.
just going back then to, you became a mum to your little girl in 2021. So when was
Yeah.
she born?
She was born right end of August 2021, that bank holiday weekend.
Oh my
Much to the
God.
disappointment of the hospitals. They were like, "You sure you don't want to be induced before the bank holiday weekend?" I'm like, "No, my baby will come when she's ready."
When she
And
is ready.
yeah, she wanted an empty hospital, so she came on the Saturday. And
Amazing.
yeah, it
And
was
how
good
have
fun.
you you know, how did you find the experience of like stepping into motherhood, and just how have you found that element of it so far, just without the career aspect?
Mm.
How have you found being a mum?
Nothing like I ever really expected. Like put like, if I think back where I was in my headspace before I became a mum and where I am
Yeah.
now, I'm just like, oh my gosh, she was so naive.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, I don't know, like I've always meant to have done two things in my life, and one was to achieve the things I have achieved in my sport, and second was to become a mum. And
Okay.
I mean, judo's never been easy. I've always had to work hard for everything I've had in sport.
Yeah.
And I don't know why in my head I thought motherhood would just be a breeze. I just thought, oh, I'm born to do this. Like it's going to be so easy. And
Yeah.
like just everything felt hard. Everything felt hard from the start, and just an absolute whirlwind. It absolutely just slaps you in the face, and you're not expecting it at all, and you just learn on the job.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
yeah.
I wouldn't change it, obviously, for the world, and I feel like I've grown and learned so much as a person.
Mm,
But yeah, it was just so unexpected and just a lot to begin with.
yeah.
Um, I remember that first night. It was right at the back end of COVID. I'm going to call it lockdown 3,
Yeah.
and my partner couldn't stay in the hospital with me, so I'd given birth at about 5 p.m. and at about 10 p.m. he had to go. And during that time after giving birth, I just wanted to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, they kept giving me the baby, and I just kept going, is there anyone else that wants to have her for a minute? Because I need to sleep. And then when he left, I was just like, I remember saying to the midwife, are you just going to leave me on my own for the night? Or are you going to help me? Or she's like, we'll be here, if you need us. But if you don't need us, we're just going to kind of leave you to it. And I just remember being like scared, just like,
Yeah.
it's just, it all happens literally in one day, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then by that following morning, I would say, we properly bonded by then, and I was just obsessed with her by the morning.
Oh.
And kind of like, yeah, I've got this. But yeah, an absolute whirlwind, a slap
Hmm.
in the face, and nothing like I ever expected. But yeah, one of the most amazing experiences, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
No, no.
Mm.
Totally agree. And I think the words you've used to describe it are so spot on.
Yeah,
Whirlwind. And just,
yeah,
yeah, it is. It is a bit of a slap in the face. I think, like you said, nothing does prepare you for it.
no,
Absolutely nothing. People can
no,
share with you all the advice that they want and what's worked for them, etc. But until you're in it, it's you just don't have a clue, do you, at
no,
all? I
no.
think you're right in saying that it is definitely learning as you go. Like there is no better example of that,
Mm.
learning as you go and on your feet. Um,
Yeah.
so did you prior to having your little girl then, had you prepared to return to work? Did you know that you were going to be returning to your career after having your little one? Or was it a decision that you made during,
Mm.
when you were off?
Yeah. So because of my concussion, and
Mhm.
like my pregnancy and my concussion recovery kind of coincided.
Yeah,
So I've spoken before about how great the hormones from pregnancy were for my brain kind of healing, and all those like post concussion syndrome symptoms I was experiencing daily
yeah,
kind of just subsiding as the pregnancy was moving and progressing. So
right.
um at that time when I was pregnant, I had no intentions of really coming back to the sport because I didn't know if I could.
Okay.
Yeah, and so my priority was always getting back to full health with
Okay.
my concussion. And it wasn't until sort of towards the end of the pregnancy we started putting plans in place to try and return to the sport. And again, it wasn't to return to say, I'm going to return because I want to compete, because I want to go to the Olympics again. It was just, I'd love to have the opportunity to
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
Um, and it was such a slow process. Oh, it was like two steps forwards, one step back. It was a slow process. It took so long for me to get back on the mat again. It
Really.
took 6 months. It took 6 months to get back on the mat again.
Wow.
Which, people are like, oh, it's probably because of the pregnancy and this and that, and it wasn't. It was because of my head injury. I
Wow.
was, yeah. So yeah, I didn't have the intention of coming back, but I just had this step by step approach, and
Okay.
it's kind of how I've always tried to live my life and live my judo career step by step. Everything you do, everything you want to achieve is a step by step approach. Don't
Yeah.
look to the end goal, look at what the next thing is that you need to do, or the next little thing that you need to achieve is,
Yeah.
and eventually, that will lead you where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
probably an amazing approach, like to be having as a
Mm.
mother anyway, isn't it? Like just that's
Yeah.
taking it step by step because, things change daily as a mum. And
Mm.
as you mentioned earlier, like you can want to have so much control, but then there's so much unpredictability as a mum. So just taking it day by day, step by step on that side of
Mm.
things is also very useful. With regards to then, so you were saying it, it really took, it was a journey, it took a process. And I've obviously listening to you on previous podcasts and things, I believe you were the first female to return to the sport after becoming a mother. Is that correct?
Yeah, so
Wow.
we have like we have a centralized program. So we have
Yeah.
like a base in the Midlands, and that's where all the athletes train out of, most of the athletes. And we have been there, so I've been there just over 10 years now, when it first opened up in 2013. And yeah, I was the first mother to kind of be in the program, in the system, to have a baby and then return back. So it was huge. It was massive. I didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what to expect. Um, but honestly, hats off to, like, British Judo and kind of the team around me.
Yeah.
Everyone just um, was so supportive, so supportive, and wanted to do their best by me and by Raya.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to return to the sport, there was never any pressure that they would help me do that safely.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is absolutely incredible. And that must be quite motivating for you to know that you've been able to show that it is possible
Mm.
as a woman, as a mother returning, that it is possible to get back to the level that you're at now,
Yeah.
to show that you don't need to choose, I suppose, between them. It is doable. Do you feel
Yeah.
that way?
Oh, 100%. And I don't know, something just amazing as well happened within the judo world, because I wasn't
Yeah.
the only one. There was a few other mums who
Okay.
had kind of gone on the same journey and returned back to the sport. And it's like we've sort of like created a little team. We're a little
Yeah.
force to be reckoned with now, and it is an amazing feeling of, look, it's not just one mum trying to do it. There's multiple
Yeah.
mums doing it and actually achieving it and coming back and getting the results, and showing that we can still be competitive. We can still be good mums. We can still juggle everything. Um, and it's kind of down to the rest of the world to sort of accept that now,
Yeah.
and to change things and adapt things and make it more accessible for us, to make it easy for us to take our kids to competitions,
Yeah.
and things like that. So honestly, it's been, you don't realize at the time that you're part of something, amazing and
Yeah.
huge. And that, again, that was never my intention.
No.
Things just happened the way that they happened, but it's been so comforting, and almost like has reinforced that it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's an incredibly good thing. Like you said, I
Yeah.
think I mean, you being the first one, and now there's a group of you that feel, incredibly powerful to show that it is possible. And it
Mm.
encourages then other teams, other sports, other industries to be stepping up and thinking about how can we adapt things, like you said. It's so important from things like this, from your experience, it then kind of ricochets to encourage others to be thinking differently, which is really incredible. Did you feel like before you did start that kind of return to your career process, like, was there doubt in your mind because it hadn't been done before? What did that kind of impact you in any way to think, is this possible? Like, should I do this?
Yeah, honestly, my expectations were super low,
Right,
super, super low. I mean, I had no security on whether I'd keep my funding initially,
right.
um, because that whole process was being reviewed while I was pregnant.
Wow.
So I had no kind of security on money, which meant that I possibly wouldn't be able to return because at some point I'd have to find a job and,
Wow.
I'd have to go down that route.
Yeah.
Um, I had no expectation because of my previous injury and that being the reason I stopped in the first place. And then again, yeah, because I didn't have anyone in my sport to sort of look at or try and emulate, it was kind of like we are just learning on the job.
Yeah.
Same as motherhood. So honestly, my expectations were low. And I don't know, that almost helped me though. I think that helped me to
Okay.
not put pressure on myself, to not make it everything, to enjoy motherhood. Like that first year of motherhood, I didn't travel at all.
Okay.
And it just gave me that time to just really just like immerse myself into being a mum that loves to train. That's kind of
Yeah.
how it was for the first year, rather than it being I'm an elite athlete or elite judoka who also has a child. It was the other way
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
um but I think it just really helped me with that step-by-step approach, not
Yeah.
setting myself this big goal and just taking it day by day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love the fact that, like you said about the pressure, because I think there's such a we as mothers in general, no matter what career you're going into, there's this sense, not this sense, but there's this huge amount of pressure that we put on ourselves. I think it's we're wired to want to do the absolute best for our little ones and
Mm,
make sure that we are loving and supporting them to the best we can. And I think from that then there's comes this huge pressure we put on our shoulders to be making
mm.
sure that we're doing everything that we can, so we almost take on so much, don't we?
Oh
And
yeah.
the
Yeah.
pressure just mounts up, and
Mm,
essentially that's what becomes incredibly overwhelming.
yeah.
So I think, yeah, for you, that's incredible. Like, in terms of not viewing it as getting back to that elite level, it was just you were a mum who just loved to train, and
Yeah.
that got
Yeah.
you through. So that adaptation
Yeah.
of your mindset there was really important by the sounds
Mm,
of it.
yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think in that moment there, I found my why. And
Right.
whenever people kind of say like, how do you deal with mum guilt? How do you cope with it all? Like,
Yeah.
it's having your why and having that why that you can always come back to when you are in those moments where you feel overwhelmed or it's everything's getting on top of you. It's like, okay, why do I feel like this? Well, I feel like this because of my why. My why is that I'm a mum that loves to do my sport. I love to
Mhm.
perform on the big stage. I feel like I still have more to give
Yeah.
and still feel like I have more to achieve. And that's my why. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I am
Yeah.
burning the candle at both ends. That is why I am trying to do everything I possibly can to be the best I can be.
Mm.
Um, and my other thing with that as well is like this is just a huge opportunity.
Mm.
So when I work with my sports psychologist as well, we talk a lot about seeing things as opportunities rather than like this isn't a given, this
Yeah.
isn't just handed to you, this isn't just expected, this is an opportunity. So come back to your why, see it as an opportunity, and it almost helps you just calm down in those moments and then just try and structure things based around, okay, what's the priority here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's strip it all back. Can the laundry wait? Yes, it probably can wait. Can cleaning the house wait? Okay, that can wait. And
Yeah.
then just come back to your kind of like your priority list and your why.
Yeah.
And that always helps to ground me.
Yeah. And gosh, that's so helpful for other mums to hear as well. Like,
Yeah.
in terms of, managing those priorities, because it can really be hard to to decipher what needs your attention sometimes and what doesn't. Like
Yeah.
it can all feel very urgent at times, can't it?
Mm.
So like you said, that
Mm.
why, discovering what your why is and then working from that, almost working backwards from that, is
Yeah.
then really helpful for you to know what to prioritize and what can wait.
Mm. Yeah.
With something I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned previously, is about the support of your the team. You know, you were the first kind of going through that, and they were learning as they were going as
Mm.
well.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that, and how important they were within your
Mm.
kind of return to work experience.
Yeah. So we probably started having, I mean, I didn't tell them I was pregnant until after my 12-week scan.
Okay.
And I wasn't yet ready to go kind of like public with it. So it was sort of a tell who needs to know at this point, but can we kind of keep it? I was wanting to get more towards halfway before kind of letting the whole world know. And I think it's hard because once everyone knows, that's all everyone talks about, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to wait as long as possible. But
Yeah.
they would just, firstly, their reactions were amazing. I did not expect it at all. They were just over the moon for me. And I thought there was going to be that like that slight disappointment in their voices just because it was Olympic
Right.
year. And it sort of solidified that I definitely wasn't going to try and go because of my injury, but
Yeah.
it just really solidified it that, okay, she's definitely not going. And but there was none of that. They were literally amazing, so supportive. And I think from that point, they went off and tried to do the research. They got in touch with the English Institute of Sport and just started trying to gather as much information as possible to be able to help me during pregnancy so I could continue training because I'd
Wow.
expressed that I wanted to continue training. And
Yeah.
again, it wasn't because I was like, oh, I want to return to the sport afterwards, so I want to stay fit. It was more for my mental health and
Yeah.
because I love training. It just gave me something to do every day. So then, there was that whole process during the pregnancy that they wanted to support me with and kind of give me that kind of guidance and guidelines on you can do this or you can't do this or this isn't safe for yourself or the baby or this is.
Right.
Um, so there was that. And then, towards the end of my pregnancy, then we wanted to put a plan in place depending on what kind of birth I had.
Okay.
So that, if I ended up having a natural birth, this would be the process of returning. If I had, on the other end, if I had a cesarean birth or an emergency C-section or something, then
Mhm.
we would have a plan for that as well.
Wow.
So, but everything was always so flexible and open. They just wanted to give me the options. And then, yeah, from about 8 weeks after postpartum, I started going back in just to do
Wow.
really low level, just core stuff. And it was just like starting from scratch again because I couldn't even sit up, from going
Really?
to like
Yeah.
pulling up 30 kilos strapped to me to not even being able to sit up by myself. Like
Wow.
it was humbling, I would
Yeah,
say.
I
It was humbling, yeah. And how
bet.
incredible like the female body is and how
Oh,
it adapts to be able to hold a baby and for you to be able to give birth and all the rest of it. But it was just like such a nice little challenge. And I think also for those that I was working with, a massive thing that they can now put on their CVs and be like, I
yeah.
rehabbed an athlete from pregnancy back to competing at the highest level again and back to winning medals. Like it was incredible for all of us.
Wow.
And again, we just learned as we went along. We asked the
Yeah.
right questions. We tried to speak to the right people. I got in touch with sort of built a little community of other mums that are going through a similar thing. So like we've got a group chat. I think it's got about 15 or
Amazing.
16 mums in it that
Amazing.
are all kind of elite level athletes from different sports,
Okay.
all with the intention of returning basically for a major event or a games.
Wow.
And yeah, we've just sort of built this little community, and now we have this blueprint almost of like how if we were to do it again with another athlete, or there's so much now information for us to go off. So that was just incredible. So that was sort of support from like within my system and
Yeah.
within the people that I have day-to-day contact with at the National Training Centre. And then, kind of in the background, you've got like UK Sport and you've got the
Okay.
funding system and how athletes are funded through lottery funding. And that was all being rewritten while I was pregnant. So yeah, there was never any pressure for me to return. But at 6 months, there was a conversation, and it was basically, what are your intentions? Do you want to return? Do you want us to support you with that, or do you want us to support you with the transition out of the sport? And it was at that point that I said, I think I'm going to try and come back and I want to compete. And then we just put together a longer term plan towards my first competition. And with that, I then got told, this is how you'll be supported financially. This is what we'll do. And I think it was also at that point that my performance director then submitted my plan for the Paris Games, working backwards. So the end goal then being Paris Games, but just working backwards from there of how we would get there.
Yeah.
And it would be like a progressive approach. It's not like, okay, you're straight back into Olympic qualifiers and it's going to be high pressure, high volume straight away. It was a very, very like step-by-step approach. And I mean, it's been successful so far. We're where we are now. I'm in qualification and it's looking likely I could end up going. So, like even just then summarizing everything is just like looking back on it, it's amazing, really.
Yeah.
It is really amazing. But I genuinely couldn't do it, I couldn't have done it without the support from the UK sport, without the support from, British Judo and my team. And then also like in my own personal life, I always say like my daughter has like 5 parents. She's got 3 grandparents, her mum and her dad. And also without them, I literally couldn't do what I do. I wouldn't be able to travel away for days at a time. The support even when I'm home. So honestly, it takes more than a village. I feel like it takes a whole little town to like get me through and to get me to this point. And I know at the end of this is not just my like success or my story. This is like, it's for all of us.
Yeah, it's for every other woman who's wanting to do exactly what you're doing, isn't it? No matter what industry you're in, it's showing that it is absolutely possible with the right support in place. And that's just so uplifting to hear that experience, because there's so many mothers who've unfortunately, whether it's in a sporting career or whether it's outside of that in something completely different, they've unfortunately not had a good experience, and the support completely hasn't been there. And they've got to a point where they feel as if the only option is to give that up, something that they're really passionate about, and to give it up because the support network just isn't there. And I've literally only very recently in the last couple of days had been talking to a mother who's had to do that. She's not had the support in place to be able to continue in her career, and she's just so upset about that because it's something she absolutely loves. So it's so amazing to hear in an industry like yours where it wasn't done previously, but it's just shown what can happen when people come together and just look at how they can approach this, isn't it? And to show that if you just put your thinking caps on, there's a way to make sure that you can do good throughout that. And it just shows how important a support network is for mothers as well.
It's literally everything. You cannot, it's like, it's your crutch. You literally cannot. You can't walk without it.
You can't.
No.
I think you feel as well, and let me know how you felt. But they always say when you've got an employer or a team around you who cares so much about you, then your performance towards them, like your loyalty towards them, your performance then goes through the roof, because you've got a team that supports you and cares about you. So you want to do great for them as well. So, it's kind of like, it's a win-win situation. If an employer puts their support into somebody, you're going to get that amazing result back. So why would you not do it? Why would you choose to not support someone through this? Because you're going to get a fantastic result from it at the end of the day. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say it's just hard because not everyone has the mindset of so many people see that being a mother is a disadvantage to your career. And I think it's trying to like shift that mentality of there are so many positives to being a mum and being career driven or still having these big goals you want to achieve. I think there's so much positive, but I think some people can still only see the drawback, the negative, you should be at home with your kid 24/7. You know, that
Yeah.
that child needs you. I get that a lot. You know, that child needs you. That child
Yeah.
needs you for the development. They need you for this. They need you for that. And they put that guilt on you as well.
Mm.
So yeah, although a lot of minds are shifting and there's a lot, you know, we've got a modern approach to gender roles now and things like that, but not
Mm.
everyone is like that.
No, no.
And there's still a lot of work to do. And I feel like we're all part of that. You know, mums who are trying to do both, who are showing that you can do both successfully, are going to help change those perceptions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There is still quite a fair way to go, isn't there? But
Mm,
it's good to see that things are happening.
mm,
And in your case has been, as you said, has been a really incredible success to see where you
mm.
are now after
Yeah.
all the support that's been put into it. So with regards to you mentioned there about the kind of the guilt actually, which it would be a really
Mm,
interesting one to kind of get onto. So the guilt that maybe you feel and also the guilt that kind of gets put on you as well, like by others and societal
mm.
kind of expectations and opinions. What has been your experience of that as you've moved through your journey? Like from your perspective, have you experienced that kind of mum guilt that is so often talked about?
Yeah. Oh, mum guilt is like, it's just constant. And I've accepted that you're never gonna kind of get away from mum guilt. It's always gonna
Yeah,
be there. It's just how loud that voice is in
yeah,
your head. Um, and when I've spoken to other people about mum guilt, they've just reminded me that, like, if you thought that you were this amazing mother, you had nothing to improve on, you know, you wouldn't have that, like, the nagging voice, you wouldn't have that mum guilt. But when you are a good mum, but you always want to do better and you always want to try harder and you always want to improve yourself, then
yeah,
you're always going to have that nagging voice there. So it's almost like
yeah,
it's a sign of being a good parent that
yeah.
you do have that guilt there.
Mm,
It keeps you in check. It reminds you to just have a look at everything and see if there's anything that needs adjusting, there's anything that
yeah,
needs changing. It almost is like your compass.
yeah,
That's the way I try and look at it. And I have experienced mum guilt, and there has been times where I've had to talk to other mums around me, mums that I trust. So, like, my actual judo coach from home that I've been working with since I was 11 years old, she has always been very career driven. She's always been a coach,
yeah.
and she has 4 kids of her own. She had her first 3 boys quite close together. I think all 3 of them were under 4. Or
Wow.
yeah, so, and you know, she'd give birth to them and be at the club the same night. She'd give birth in the morning and she'd turn up at the club and coach that night with
What?
baby, yeah, with baby in tow. And
Oh
she's an
my
absolute
goodness.
warrior, a superwoman, but she is just like my go-to person. Like, when I'm just like, no, you've had 4 and I only have 1. But how are you, like, how do you do it?
Yeah,
How do you deal with the guilt of leaving them sometimes? Um, that's probably my hardest one, actually, the one when I've got
yeah,
to go away for camps and competitions. And I look at her relationship with them now. Her oldest is 19, and they have an incredible relationship with their
wow.
mum. And it is just like a testament. And for me to be able to see, look, it can be done. It can be
Yeah,
done. You know, being an amazing mum isn't necessarily, you're there every day, but you're withered. How much of a great mum are you being when you're able to actually step away, recharge your batteries, which is what judo does for me.
yeah,
It gives me that energy to be able to come home and give that back to her again and to be the best mum when I am with her.
yeah,
um
absolutely.
you know, if I couldn't do the thing that kind of gives me energy, I'd be miserable half the time and
Mm,
I wouldn't be a great mum. So
mm,
having my sport and having to juggle both, they work hand in hand, they help each other.
mm,
um so I think, yeah, dealing with mum guilt, I lean on people that I trust. I lean on people that I can talk to. I understand that the mum guilt needs to be there. It's my compass. It's my guide.
yeah,
It keeps me in check. Um, Coping, I always come back to my why. Um,
yeah,
And another way that I've managed to kind of reframe things is, I always say Raya's got 5 parents, but she only
Yeah.
has 5 parents because I do leave her with other people. You know,
Yeah.
she has that time with grandma, she has that time with nanny or her papa. And if I didn't and I was there all the time, she would just come to me. You know,
Yeah.
kids are so clingy to their parents
Yeah.
and they don't want to be with anyone else when they're with you.
Yeah.
And they just wouldn't have the same bond with her. So
Hmm.
it's such amazing opportunities for her to get 3 days here with nanny or 3 days here
Yeah.
with her gran. So yeah, it's an opportunity for her to strengthen those bonds with other family members, with other people that really
Absolutely.
love her and care about her and are going to love her just as much as I love her. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not the only love that's good for her.
Yeah.
There's other love that she needs to have. And yeah, I think the third thing for me is just like, I'm a better mum when I have my
Yeah.
goals, when I have the things I'm working on. So yeah, that's how I manage
How
my
you
mum
manage
guilt,
it.
but I always have it. It's never not there. It's
Yeah.
just I just dial it right down to the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. And that,
Yeah.
I think that's really useful for other mums to hear, though, to that it is always there. And I think if it wasn't there, then it would be questionable, wouldn't it? As to,
Yeah.
because as you said, that guilt, it is a reminder of just how much you love your little one, how much they mean to you, how much you're wanting to do
Mm.
good for them. And
Yeah.
so I love how you've kind of phrased it as it's your compass. It just guides you
Mm.
kind of to where you need to put your focus or your energy,
Yeah.
or what you need to dial up, dial down. I think that's an amazing way of coping with it, rather
Yeah.
than allowing it to guide you in the wrong way. Because
Mm.
I think guilt is, it is overwhelming in itself, isn't it? It's a very intense emotion, and it
Mm.
can almost consume you and control you if you were
Mm.
to allow it, and it could hold you
Mm.
back from so many opportunities in life, and hold your little one back as well from
Mm.
opportunities. So making sure that you're able to use it rather as a compass
Yeah.
is an amazing way of dealing with it. As you
Yeah.
said, I bet your little one has like thrived from the relationships that she's then gone on to have with her grandparents, and
Oh,
her development, I'm
amazing.
sure, has gone through the roof because of that.
Amazing. Yeah, and she has times where if I'm home and I'm leaving, she'll get a bit like, "Oh, I don't want you to go,"
Yeah,
just like a
yeah,
normal toddler. But I was saying to her dad the other day, she loves traveling. So when she gets in the car, she's like, "Bye, mommy, like see ya, like see you later." She loves it because she knows she's going on an adventure. She's gonna go and see her nanny, or she's gonna go and see her
yeah,
grand, and she loves it. She's got her old like set of toys there, a new bed. It's
yeah,
just
changes it up.
yeah, it does. And she just thrives in all the
Oh,
environments that she's in.
yeah,
And she absolutely loves it. And I think the hardest thing is sometimes you worry that your bond won't be as strong, or like,
yeah,
you know, they'll forget your face or anything like that.
yeah,
And thankfully I'm never away for too long. But I don't know, I feel like it just intensifies our relationship. It makes it
yeah,
even stronger because
yeah,
we just really appreciate every moment we have together. We
yeah,
never take a moment for granted. So I don't know, it almost stops me from becoming complacent as a mum, and I'm just absolutely obsessed with her when I'm with
yeah.
her,
Well,
and
you're
vice versa.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally relate to that. Like when after I've had like a day at work, coming back to my little one, I feel like I am so incredibly present in that moment with him. Like
Mm,
I just want to soak him up
yeah.
so much.
Mm,
Whereas before returning to work, like as much as you love the experience, the days are really, really long and you can feel really tired. So
yeah.
I definitely notice the difference between myself when I've use my brain in different ways, and then I'm coming back to him, like I feel like my energy is totally different with him,
Mm,
and my
yeah.
presence with them. So I totally relate to what you said, and like you feel like you're a better mum when you come back to her.
Mm, It's
That's
like
been my experience
quality.
too.
It's like quality versus quantity, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like how much I
absolutely.
could spend loads of time with her, but how much of that time is like quality time?
Yeah,
How
yeah,
much of that time it is her knowing that I am here, I am present, I do love
yeah,
her. I do enjoy spending time with her versus, you know, like you said, some of those longer days, especially at the beginning, where you're just like, I love you to bits, but I just need a break. And I'm always so open about it.
Absolutely.
People look at me like I'm crazy sometimes, and I'm like, I love my daughter. I love her to bits. Could I do
Absolutely.
like full consecutive days all the time? No, I
No.
couldn't. Like I would need a break, and I'm
Yeah.
so open with admitting that I
Yeah.
need those little
Yeah.
breaks. But it's like with anything, I couldn't do judo nonstop. I need a break from
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah, of
So
course.
it's just like a balance.
Yeah, it goes with everything, doesn't it? Saying that.
Mm.
Um, Also, like what you mentioned about kind of role modeling, like you've got role models that you've looked to in terms of your judo coach, and um, how do you feel about, yourself being a role model to Raya? Like, is that,
Mm.
I'm sure that's a really motivational thing for you, an
Mm.
important thing that you want to pass on to her as well.
Oh, massively. Like, it's not gonna really have the impact just yet. But
Yeah.
as she gets older, and as she's navigating all the things she's gonna have to navigate in her own life, I want her to be able to look at me and just be like, you can do anything that you put your mind to. You literally can do anything that you put your mind to if you trust the process and you do the step-by-step approach. You can reach there, because this is what I was able to do.
Mm.
Just after having you, a year after having you, I returned to competition and won my first medal. And like, for her to be able to see all that is just going to be, I can only see a positive from it.
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
she's not going to remember when she was 2 years old that I'd go away for 4 days at a time
No.
and leave her having so much fun with her grandparents or her dad, or like,
Yeah.
she's not going to look back and resent me for that. She's going to look back and just be like, mum did this incredible thing, and all
Yeah.
with a young child as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does, that is motivation for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've also seen on your social media that you take her into training when
Yeah,
you've got days on the mat and things. Like that
yeah,
must be so lovely for her to just get involved a little bit and have a
yeah.
go at the things mummy does.
She does. And the bit she hates most is when I tell her she can't come on. She gets really upset. The other day at my club, she like did the full on warm up. She did everything that we were doing, just
Oh my
copying. And
God.
like, it's funny now, like, training's one of her words, it's in her vocabulary. She's
Wow.
just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm mummy's training. She's like, oh, you're training. And these are the words that she already
Yeah.
knows, and she knows
Yeah.
exercise. Um, and she absolutely loves it. We do like a toddler and baby gymnastics class, and she's been going to that for a year now. So
Amazing.
she's doing so well in that. And it's so like nice, because I think it's almost like she's doing what I'm doing. Like, she has to be focused when she's there. She's got to follow instructions, she's got to get into line, she's got to do the exercises, and then she just sees me doing that as well. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
her, it's just so normalized and normal.
Mm.
Um, and I'm never going to push her into judo, because I want her to choose it. But I mean, I think I'm going to struggle to stop her wanting to do it at this point. Yeah,
Yeah, she loves it
yeah,
already.
yeah, yeah,
Amazing. Like it's instilling a really good habits within her
yeah,
at such a young age, isn't it? Like the fact that
yeah,
you're saying she knows her mummy goes and does training, or so often, and she knows the word exercise and all these things already,
yeah.
and is enjoying movement. Like that's
Mm,
incredible habits to instill in a child so young, so that they
yeah,
learn the importance of that from very early on. Um,
yeah.
incredible,
Yeah,
incredible.
I encourage all my friends, because I've got friends that aren't judo related or sport mums or anything. And I just I just encourage, and I just say, get them into baby gymnastics, get them
Mm,
doing stuff, because sport is so incredibly important. Schools, you to a degree, compulsory, and sport necessarily isn't, but like, it almost should be, in terms of like, it's so like, there's so many benefits to just moving and exercise and everything. It's
yeah.
something that we definitely should be prioritizing for our little ones.
Absolutely. Absolutely
Yeah.
really is. And the younger you can do that, the better. I
Mm.
think I've grown up with, with parents who are always very um into their exercise and stuff. And then that's something I've definitely taken on as a value that I want to instill in my little one. Like, so
Yeah.
it really is so important from a very young age, isn't it, to
Mm.
instill those things so that they grow up, you know, as that is second nature to them, isn't it? And
It
um,
is, yeah.
yeah,
And
it's amazing thing you're doing.
yeah, a couple of my friends have been like, oh, you're an elite athlete, and like, are you going to be like pushy? Are you gonna, are you going to be like, do you want it to be an Olympian as well, and all the rest of it? And I'm like, again, I just come back to the fundamentals of why, like, I love what I do and I love my sport, and that's because I enjoyed it when I was growing
Yeah,
up. I never had the intentions of becoming an Olympian or taking it this as far as I have. It was all about enjoyment and learning, and so
really.
I just keep that at the front of my mind. Even when she's at gymnastics, and especially when she first started. I mean, she was only 1.5 when she first started, and there'd be times where she wouldn't listen to anything and she just want to run around, and I just let her do it because
Yeah,
she's not there to do something specific. She's there to have fun.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it's amazing to see how far she's come. And she's only 2.5 now, and she can follow the instructions of a whole session now, but
Wow.
which is amazing. But also, I just want her to have fun. That is the main
Of
thing.
course.
And I'll just keep telling myself that, as because once I finish, I'm like, right, what am I going to throw my energy into? I don't want to be like this
Yeah.
pushy mum afterwards and be like, right, I've done my job, I've been to the Olympics, I've got my medal and all the rest of it. It's your turn now. I need to still be cool about it. So
And there must be elements which that's quite difficult to be cool and kind of step back from the control because like
yeah.
with an elite, being an elite athlete, there must be so much control around, your plans and
Mm,
how to hit those goals and things. So the
mm.
control element is probably built within you. So
It
then to
is,
not
yeah.
apply that control, like you said, to your little ones, like and to allow her to
Mm.
just freely experience, it must be quite hard sometimes.
Yeah, it is tough. But again, I see those times where we're doing, I don't have to necessarily join in, but I love joining in because it's
Yeah,
something that we can do together. And sometimes I'll stand on the side and she'll come and drag me on because she loves doing it with me. It's like it's a bonding experience for us as well.
right.
So I just try and see it as like I'm just a mum having fun with my little one. And it's nice that it's not my sport because I don't know anything about gymnastics. So I'm just learning as well.
Yeah.
Um, so I think with judo, I don't think I'll coach her. I think I'll
Okay.
probably let her go on to someone else's class because I think with everything else, I'm not worried that I would be like controlling or pushy. But with judo, I would be like, I need to go and fix that bit of technique that she's just done there, or that foot placement
Yeah.
wasn't right, that hand placement wasn't right. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll
Yeah,
see what
cool.
happens. Yeah.
It's definitely still going to be a learn as you go type thing, isn't
Definitely, definitely. Any
it?
tips from any like, mums that was, elite sports persons before
Yeah,
and now they've got kids in the sport. Now I'm willing to hear your advice.
throw them your way.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so conscious that time has absolutely run away with us because
Yeah.
everything you've shared has been so interesting and so helpful. I think one thing I just kind of want to just ask you about before we kind of close things is like your confidence throughout, from before becoming a mum in your career and then returning to your career then as a mum with this new responsibility and the juggle of it all. Have you seen any impact on your confidence and how have you dealt with that, would you say, if you have seen any
Yeah.
impact?
Yeah, no, I think that my confidence took a massive dip for various reasons. One of them definitely from becoming a mum and
Yeah.
from taking that time away from my career and my sport. Um, when I think back to before I had my child, and maybe even before my injury, because it was kind of like similar timings,
Yeah.
um, I wouldn't say I'm not naturally a really confident person. Like I'm not.
Okay.
I don't have this internal, like maybe on the external, I look confident or I behave confidently, but it's more of a
Right.
learned behavior.
Yeah.
And internally, I think I've always doubted myself or lacked a bit of confidence. But where I've always drawn confidence from is the process, is knowing that I've done the work, is the results, you know, that instant feedback there. I went to a competition, I'd done well, therefore I'm good, therefore I can be confident, I should be confident.
Yeah.
You know, praise from those around me, that people affirming, you know, what I'm doing. So I've always been the type of person that has drawn confidence from the process, from the things I can see, the tangible things,
Yeah.
rather than it being internal.
Yeah.
And I think there was a point where I thought, oh my gosh, I'm just never going to get my confidence back. And then when I actually sat down and I really deeped it, I was like, well, you've never really been like internally confident, you know, or
Mm.
the things I'm saying in my head before I walk out, when I'm in the tunnel, just before I walk out for a fight, I'm not saying, you know, I am the best, you know, I'm better than all the other girls. I don't say those types of things to myself.
Okay.
I say, you know, this is an opportunity for me to go out there and show my best judo. You know, this
Yeah.
is, you know, I trust the process. I know I've done the work. Those are the things I
Yeah.
say to myself.
Yeah.
So although my confidence has dropped from before, it's more because I was out of practice for a while.
Yeah.
I haven't won any medals, you know, I
Yeah.
hadn't won any medals for almost 3 years. I didn't have those people kind of affirming me, because people affirm you when they see the results as well. So
Right.
because I don't have that, maybe I feel a bit less confident.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I just take it back to the process every time. I'm like, right, I'm doing the work. I'm doing all these things that I mentioned before. And
Yeah.
that is what I hope will give me the confidence I know I'll need when it comes
Yeah.
to, you know, Olympic day. Because
Yeah.
confidence is everything, and being able to win, especially in judo, I think 80% comes down to like the mental side of things, and
Mm.
that kind of confidence, and how you show that when you're out on the mat. So
Mm.
oh, it's so important. It's so complex, but I guess I didn't really understand it fully until recently.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I just kept chasing this. Why don't you feel confident internally? Like,
Right.
why are you not confident? Why are you not
Yeah.
confident? Well, everyone shows or feels confidence in a different way,
Yeah.
and that's just the way that I feel confident.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely love that. And
yeah,
I think it's really, really relatable, because I think a lot of people don't necessarily, feel that confidence. It
mm,
comes from after you've put that work in, and then
yeah,
the results come, and then that kind of adds on to it, doesn't it? That builds the
mm,
confidence then over time, as you said, and you've got the evidence there to show that that
mm,
process then worked.
yeah,
So waiting around to kind of feel it, it's only going to hold you back, and you're never going to move forwards
mm,
if that's the case.
mm,
So, and I think that really applies lovely to mothers returning to work, because you could wait to feel confident and hope you're going to feel confident, and it's never going to come. But just trust in the process that you're
mm,
doing the right thing, you're
yeah,
getting ready for work, you're putting your routine in place, you're,
mm,
you're doing whatever you need to set you up successfully for that
yeah,
return to work. And then the evidence, the results then come from that and the
yeah,
process.
yeah,
That's an amazing way to approach it, and I think that's really
mm,
helpful for mums to hear, actually. So
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you so, so much for joining me in this chat, and I'm so sorry for taking so much of your time.
That's all right. It's been really good. It's been
um
really, really good. Hopefully, there's
one
lots of bits of advice there
Oh my God,
for
loads.
mums trying to return to their careers.
Yeah, loads, and
Yeah,
just an interesting, sorry, story of yours to hear as well, to hear about what you're going through, and how you're preparing yourself in the goals that you've got ahead of you. So,
yeah.
um, one thing, if you don't mind, one leaving kind of key piece of advice, what key piece of advice would you give to a mum who's returning to her career at the moment?
I'd probably
One.
say, yeah, I think when it gets overwhelming, because that is literally the word that just, when I think of everything I'm doing, it is overwhelm. When it all gets overwhelming, you know, just take a break and come back to your why. Come back to
Yeah.
why you're in this position you are on that specific day, why
Mm.
you have these goals, why you want this career, you know, why you
Mm.
want to be a good mom. Come back to your why, and just adjust your priority list and take it one thing at a time.
Yeah, love that. One thing at a time.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nekoda. And I
You're
just know this
welcome.
is going to be really, really helpful. So
Yeah.
thank you.